Righty. The Finance Committee meeting will be called to order at 10:31 on April 6, 2022. At this time, I can say all members are present, and we are joined by Alderman Arnett, the city manager, assistant city attorney, and etc. So can I entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda?
Madam Chair, I'll move approval of the agenda as written.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, can I entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of the last meeting, which were on the agenda?
Madam Chair, I think Ms. Green is trying to get your attention.
And because they're not there. We were not going to rubber stamp them. Don't worry. Go ahead. Okay, no problem. So noted. All right, so we can go straight into discussions with the first being ID-75-22, and that is our preliminary schedule of departmental reviews for the fiscal year 2023 budget. A little bit of background there. The city manager and I discussed this, and you know, why change a good thing? But we did want to make sure from lessons learned that we gave ample time for the departments that seemed to go over what we had allotted. So we made sure that we had the correct duration for DPW, fire, and police. We reviewed it internally with committee members. We had one request so that Alderwoman Finlayson could attend an important departmental meeting. So the draft is on the agenda. I know my colleagues have received it under separate cover, and but I'd like to, you know, formally present it. And all those viewers out there, these are very, very important meetings. I can't stress enough that this is the opportunity to see what our city departments do, what they have produced, what they include in their budget, what they ask for in their budget. So we request as much participation as possible. There was a request, and I do want to discuss this pending okay with my colleagues, is as far as any virtual opportunity there for my colleagues. I had a request by Alderman Arnett and Shadowmeyer now on being at work and wanting to participate, but I understand that that's, could we speak to that? I guess City Manager Gerald.
Sure. So good morning, everyone. So we're trying to revert back to the policy that virtual attendance is possible, but it needs to be approved by the council, and it needs to be under emergency circumstances. There was legislation that was passed a couple of years ago that laid out that whole process. So our hope is to go back to that, so we don't have to run dual meetings, you know, the virtual and the in-person meeting. And so Alderman Savage had actually asked previously to be able to attend, and so I let him know that that was the process that we were trying to implement. So certainly if the council is supportive of that and it feels like it's an emergency situation where in-person attendance isn't possible, then we can follow that process that's laid out in the code.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
So for our colleagues who have full-time jobs, and in light of our meetings being morning meetings every 4 days a week, is this meaning that they need extenuating circumstances to be able to participate, or is one's employment adequate to allow them to participate virtually? I think that's for Mr.
Yeah,
Gerald.
and I'll answer first, and I see that the city attorney has also come on, but I guess my inclination would be that needs to be set by the council for you all to decide what, because you have to approve those requests. So whatever extenuating circumstances you think are justified to allow that, then I think that's your call. I'll turn it over to the city attorney to get his thoughts.
Mr. City Attorney?
Yes, Madam Chair, I agree with that. However, everyone on the council who had a full-time job when they applied for the position but were elected has to juxtapose that with the term extenuating. If it's something that is a regular part of their life, something that they took on even though they had a job, it may be difficult for the council to make that extenuating. If you did extend that to the term extenuating, what would not be extenuating? And so you have to be careful when you make those decisions. And you put terms like that in the code, that you have some reasonable standard for ensuring that the words being what they say, or you lose the emphasis and enforcement capacity of the terms in the code. So you just need to be careful.
Yeah, and I think that the term that's used in the code is emergency, not extenuating. So I think it has
Agreed.
a higher level of standard than extenuating.
Look, let me be clear.
Well, in light of
Go ahead.
In light of the fact that we have to approve, from what I'm hearing, that we have to approve these requests, I would hope that my colleagues would be considerate of one another. Whatever term we want to use, if someone has a job and they have to be there, then they have to be there. And so I would hate to set a standard that would impact them in such a way. But we can do this on a one-on-one basis, I believe. And I see Mr. Lyle shaking his head, I assume. So we can do this on a one-on-one basis. So it'll be left up to us.
Could I just clarify what we're asking for? What I'm assuming would be a colleague could Skype in and be involved in the active discussion. Is that what my colleagues are thinking?
That's what the request was.
Okay, so it would be a Skype.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And that's what the legislation envisioned too, was the Skype. But we all know how well that works. So just it's not great.
Mm-hmm. Madam Chair, I do have another question. In your opening remarks, you invited the public to participate. We should be clear that the presentations from the department heads are not in the form of a public hearing. It is information for the Finance Committee, that there will be public hearings after we present our recommendations to the full council.
Yeah.
So is that continuing the process that we've used previously?
Yeah, clarity on participating. The word is watch, observe. Yeah. What I could throw out there is, if I may, is that the budget review is a one-time-a-year process and is in a fixed schedule. I don't know if those would be if that would be classified as an extenuating circumstance. I would like to find a way for all of my colleagues to participate, because they all are very vocal about some of their requests, and I would rather not have departments have to go through it again.
So may I, so at
Yes.
this point, do we need, before I make my next statement, do we need a motion to accept the schedule that has been created? And then I would recommend that we share that schedule immediately with all of our colleagues so they know if they have particular departments of interest, or all of them, they know when each department is going to be presenting to us so they can arrange their schedules to attend if they'd like.
What I didn't mention in the background is that our public information officer did send this out in notice this week. It was part of the message that we are not virtual anymore and that these meetings would be upcoming. Just want to let you know that that has progressed. But yes, I would entertain a motion on accepting the schedule. Why don't we separate that out? If I
Okay, my motion will be that we adopt the schedule. I see Ms. Green and Mr. Gerald, so
yeah, Mr.
can
Jarrett,
we get a second to
Discuss.
continue discussion?
Second.
so
Thank you.
discussion. I don't know who had their hand up first, but Mr. Jarrett.
Just a thought and we didn't talk about this, Alderwoman Tierney, but just a thought, because we know that there's going to be a lot of not only interest among the council, but interest from the community with the police budget review. So just a thought that on the 25th, which is well, never mind. There's actually a city council meeting that night. So I was going to suggest that we might want to have that meeting at night or have it a late afternoon, early evening. But there's actually a city council meeting that night. So we would have to shift that to a different day if we wanted to do that. I think we would get a lot more people participating, but also viewing if we did that later in the day instead of in the morning. And there will be interest in the police budget.
So then the entire meeting would be virtual. It isn't just a Skype in thing. It would be a virtual meeting on Zoom. Is it?
No, I don't think so.
Or what are we talking about?
I don't
then?
think so. We would just move the time. It would still be an in-person meeting. We couldn't do it that day because there's a city council meeting that night.
Right.
But we could shift days and then have that as a nighttime in-person meeting or evening meeting, late afternoon.
Yeah, we could flip the 25th and the 26th or something, but Alderwoman Finlayson.
Or may I suggest that we approve what we have now, and then we investigate moving police to an evening meeting? Because there's a lot of moving parts in order to reschedule
Right.
them. And that we come back at our next meeting to amend the schedule after we find a date for the police presentation in the evening. I'd hate for us to try to do this right now.
Yes.
Because we don't even have all the interested parties present. So, we can approve what we have and then come back and make an amendment to it.
Yes. So could I entertain a motion to accept this schedule that's attached to the April 6th Finance Committee agenda? There's no date on it, so I'll have to reference it as such.
There is a motion on the floor already.
As such.
It's been seconded.
A motion
Okay.
and a second.
And we're okay with that motion. Okay. All right. So all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have a baseline and we'll look at it. Priority is to have the police presentation as to reach more people. And we'll get back, we'll put this on the agenda for next meeting. Okay, okay. The next, we have legislation. Oh, Takia, you have go ahead. Takia, sorry.
Just wanted to speak in reference to sending it out to all of the council City Manager Gerald sent it out about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And I also put it into a shared file. And so all of the council is invited to that share file where all of the documents from the budget process will be entered. So everyone should have it. I can send it out again since you guys approved it. And so just to update that it's been approved.
Yeah, because I didn't know about the shared file yet. You've set that up? I know you do that typically, but that's ready?
Yes, I believe last week I sent it to everyone.
Okay.
Madam Chair, may I also
Yes.
make a request? May I request that we send to the council a reminder about each of our meetings on an ongoing basis? And I know it may appear duplicative, but sometimes that's what we need to do to keep everyone engaged, I'll say. So if Ms. Green will put that in her tickle file to remind them at each opportunity, and of the documents that are going into the shared file. So if they miss a meeting, they'll know where to find the information.
Yes. Takia, what kind of response did you get on, she had sent these out as meetings to accept last week, so that we would all have them on our calendar. What was the feedback on that, Takia? Were there yeses, nos, no response, just to see where we're at?
No, for the most part, I think everyone accepted them. Once you accept it, it puts it on your calendar. So, they may have just accepted it just to have the reminder on their calendars.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but as Alderwoman Finlayson says, can you send out reminders?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to legislation. We have a, there you are. We have legislation, resolution R-19-22, water service agreement for 1049 Chesapeake Harbor Drive, extending our water service and the fiscal analysis of same. Do I have, can I entertain a motion to put it on the floor, or do you want to just initiate discussion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a recommendation that we give a favorable recommendation for R-1922.
Second that.
All right. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Madam Chair,
Aye.
before,
Oh, was there discussion you wanted, or what?
yes, yes, I would like to, it's a simple question. I noticed there's no site plan attached, and it is referenced in, maybe it's the staff report.
Yeah, I know. I did a Google, I did a Google map, and I'm not sure if I was looking at the correct property. Is that a
Well, it
is that a
does
request?
indicate that there's a site map attached, but it's not there. But if I could speak to it, this is not an uncommon practice. The entire community of Chesapeake Harbor, their association went through this a number of years ago. And we set the standard then that if anyone from the county wanted to have access to city water, that they would then pay 3 times the annual rate. And actually, Mr. Gerald can probably speak to this far better than I.
Yes, I was curious about the 3. It's all good. The 3 times the rate. So yes, Mr. Jarrell, can you give us some background on this?
Yeah, so this is actually just adjacent to Chesapeake Harbor. It's not actually part of Chesapeake Harbor proper. But nonetheless, it's in the county. They need water service. I think they're on a well now because it's an existing home. So they're coming off the well. The only water that's available out in that area is city water. So they've requested to be allowed to connect to our system. In order for county residents to be able to do that, it has to be approved by the council. So that's why it's in front of you. And they will be paying 3 times the water rate that city residents pay. And Ashley knows something that I left out.
Oh, yes, Ms. Leonard?
I was just going to add that, no, City Manager Gerald covered most of it. As to your request about the referenced, the site plan, it's in the process of being finalized. This particular applicant has some financial constraints, so Public Works is working with them to get something finalized that's sort of within their budget.
Okay.
May I ask, does the site plan get generated from the property owner or from the city?
But it gets generated by the property owner, subject to city approval.
Okay.
But I know
So I assume
Torda Burkhart and Public Works is working closely with them, and I will check in with her today to see where that progress is, so that maybe by the time it goes back up to full council, we'll have that attached.
Okay. That was going to be my question. Is the Director of Public Works or his staff, but you answered my question, so thank you.
Of course.
Is someone here to speak to the determination that the existing facilities, capacity, and infrastructure are sufficient to serve this property, or the last whereas clause?
Mike's there.
Yes, Mr. Johnson, we wanted to hear from you.
There it is.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Good morning.
I'm sorry, my computer is giving some video problems. I'm not sure I'll get my video to load. I've been having problems this morning. Give me a moment. Okay, it's not loading. So yes, with projects like this, an analysis is done. We have a model that sort of determines the what's called like the firm capacity, the ability of the city to provide adequate water while maintaining water needs for other critical services and customers. And the analysis shows that this would not have any adverse impact on the ability of the city to discharge what it's responsible for.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, just want to make sure all I's are dotted and T's crossed here. Is there any other conversation to be had, discussion? Well, we have a motion, I believe, on the floor for a favorable recommendation. So I'll ask for a vote now. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That's it for legislation today. So we can go to an update from our finance director, Jody Dickinson. Drum roll, please.
Don't have a lot to say. The same things we've all been working on, but the last couple weeks had a pause in the union discussions and the P3 discussions. So I've been working primarily on getting the budget finalized and the numbers nailed down and the documentation pulled together. I will tell you, I've had a little bit of a glitch in that Katie is homesick, quite sick. So I'm having to work on this myself this week. She's feeling a little bit better, so I might get her back later this week. So my focus is the legislation. The legislation has to be presented on Monday, and the book follows that. So I'm hoping the book will be in good enough shape to give it to you on Monday, but I wanted to warn you that there may be a day or two delay depending on how clean it is. I don't want to give you a product that's got tons of typos and format issues and things like that because we haven't had time to edit it properly. So I want to make it a nice product without making it too late. So the book comes from OpenGov, which Katie has been working on exclusively, and I've had a crash course in the last 2 days on how to make that work. But it's going to take me longer than it would her.
So do we have that flexibility in the code?
So the thing that has to be introduced on Monday is the budget. The budget
Right.
is the ordinance and all the bills and the legislation that go with it. So that's the focus. I'm hoping to have something to give to you more than that, but I'm just giving you a little bit of a forewarning that depending on how she's feeling.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, I can imagine the stress of Katie being out on you, Ms. Dickinson. Could we indicate that we should get our books before the work session on Thursday? I think that would be ample for us and may be able to give you a little bit of breathing room.
Yeah, so there's a very good chance you'll get it before then, and hopefully by Monday evening. I'm just saying that if things don't, if, you know, depending on how she's feeling, if she can get up and start working, because, you know, they have kids, small kids, and everybody's sick. So it's a bit of a task for them right now. So so I don't know when she's going to be able to work full on. And we were slated to be working a really long hours this week to try to get it ready. So we're a bit behind. I could give you something on Monday. Like I said, it just may not be clean and it's messy. You don't want to see all the sausage making and all the edits and the typos and, you know, things not tying out right and all those questions would come in. I wouldn't want to give you that ugly product.
I was dropped out. Where did the conversation go on having the books ready for the work session? My Zoom collapsed for a bit there.
Oh, okay. So I said, I'm hoping to have it for Monday evening and hopefully well before Thursday.
Books.
The books, yeah.
And concurrent with that, will it be on open.gov or is that?
Yeah, we'll have a link. When the book is ready, we'll have a link ready and everybody will be able to just dive right into the link and handle it like you did last year.
Okay, so for the work session, which is, you know, allotted 3 hours, we will walk through the budget and will we have time to walk through open.gov so my colleagues are comfortable with it? Or what? We might as well talk about now because it's going to come up.
So you're saying before the work session, you want a little mini training session, like an updated on how to click through it?
No. I want to use the work session I want to use the city council work session for that, if you think that that's necessary. The work session is to go over the budget, but at the same time you have open.gov. So I guess I'm asking you, how are you presenting both?
So we will be pulling together a PowerPoint presentation for you, like we did last year, that'll walk you through the highlights of the budget. And it'll probably be in a lot of the same format that it was last year. And we'll tell you where the revenues expenses are, what the rates are going to be, some of the highlights of what's in the budget, other things. The CIP will go through some of the major projects in the CIP, that type of thing. And if in that presentation you want us to walk you through how to go into the link and just a brief run through of how the link works online when you click in, we can do that as well.
Yes, please. And I also, because it comes up a lot, the term, and I don't want terms to be misused, but I would like us to spend some time to go over the policies, the financial administration policies of the budget, and how we develop the budget stabilization fund, and which we can't do until the budget is finalized, and then also explain the general fund balance and the respective transfers and the percentages.
So in our presentation, you want us to kind of review the policies.
Yes.
That are used in format and formulating the budget.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
I think that would be good.
And we'll review not only the policy, but also the numbers, right? The numbers, the past fiscal year, what the numbers were, sort of a track record. It'll be similar to the presentation that we've done the last couple of years, where we talk about the good news and the bad news, and all the numbers. So yeah, that will all be in that overall presentation. And then after that, and any questions, then we'll start going through the budget book, sort of walk through to talk about where all the information is.
Okay. Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, thank you. Could we also make sure we have a assistance in downloading OpenGov on our devices? Because it's an awesome tool if we have access to it and know how to use it. So I don't know how much detail or what that's going to entail, but I think it would be great if everyone has it on their iPads, and then it's up to them as to whether they want to use it. But if they know how, then, you know, they have all the information at their fingertips. So could we make that a part of?
Yes, I'm writing down the note here. So a list of instructions on how to download it onto your iPad.
Yeah.
Maybe the permanent documentation of the link in those instructions, and some of the features that you can use.
So just to be clear, the entire budget is on open.gov. I mean, we 100%, we're at that point.
Okay, so not
I think we
sure.
were last year, were we not?
Right, I wasn't quite sure if we're at 90 or 100. I mean, so we're there. Okay, so we're using open.gov.
We're using it, and it's OpenGov. I'm not sure if there's a dot in there.
Oh,
But
yeah,
it's just
I know.
OpenGov is the product. It's
Right.
not a the website isn't open.gov or anything. I don't want somebody to try to find it there, because that
Yeah.
wouldn't work. It's if you're asking about what we can click and get detail on, almost everything's in there. We have some issues with grants because of the special way that we do the grants accounting. Some of what you see in the budget book, there's a few items that we don't put in OpenGov, so you can double click and see detail. We take a picture of a schedule and put it into the book. So there's not that drill down capability, but there's only a few items, and grants is the biggest one, the list of all the grant projects. And we do a summary. If you had to look in OpenGov for it, it would be really difficult because there's so many of them
So
that fold all together.
So we'll basically be going, we'll have the budget books in front of us to look at line items, et cetera. So let me ask you this, if there's a revision in the budget, as inevitably there is, do you then have to make a corresponding correction in OpenGov or at a later date, or?
So when you say revision, if
Amendment.
there are different types. If I find there's a mistake that we made, that we put something in wrong, everything has to be fixed in OpenGov to update the number. If you're talking about budget amendments that the council passes, when you go through your amendment process, eventually everything has to go back in there because we have to produce the final budget book. And the OpenGov is what's feeding the budget book. So everything has to be updated to the final amended numbers and amended content.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I answered your question or not.
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
You did. And so
We do have to update everything because the book would not come out with the final information if we didn't have everything updated in OpenGov.
So might not be ignorant. Yeah, it is an ignorant question. So when you make an entry, you make that entry in OpenGov? A budget entry?
Yes. Yes. And right now, every number that we have for every fund, except for grants, is shown in OpenGov, and we have it there. Then the next process within OpenGov is creating a book. And with this book, you have a document, and it feeds from several different sources. Some is that data that we're seeing, the budget data of the departments feed into tables that you can click into and see detail. Some of it is PDF pictures that you take a picture of and put it into the document so that when it prints, it's there. Some of it's wording that we can go in and type and edit. The accomplishments, the budget highlights, things like that. that are in there as well. So it's the budget document is the final product that comes out of all this.
Okay. Yeah, I think the budget basics PowerPoint, worked out really well. Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yes, to me, OpenGov is a more visual picture of our budget. And you can go in and look at any department and see what percentage of their budget is used for different categories. I think if once you see it, and I thought we had access to it, I had access to it last year, maybe it was to the finance committee, but I think everybody.
Everybody will have access to it again. We will give you instructions again on how to get in there. You may still have what you need downloaded onto your equipment already, whatever you're using, whether it's a laptop or an iPad or whatever it is. You may have what you need there already and just need a new link to the new budget book.
Yeah, before, are you done? Yeah. Before Katie got sick, I thought, and I think I might have just written this in a random email to my colleagues, but I was thinking because we have that and people respond visually, it would be super cool if when the departments come before us, we can project that pie chart, if you will, so that we can see visually how much they have allocated for staff and the other categories. Simple, like, the 3 or 4 categories.
Yeah. So I will tell you that Katie already had gone into OpenGov and put in a lot of those pie charts for you. One of the challenges now is going to be getting them into the book and getting them, meaning the final product is the book. You'll be able to click and see these things. But if they're going to be in the book, making it consistent, making sure everybody, that it's all there, that kind of thing, that's the time consuming thing. But you will be able to click and see it. It's in the OpenGov software.
Well, just to make it more collaborative with the departments there, could we project it on a screen?
That's a technical question. I don't see if we have the screen, the equipment operating in chambers. I don't see why we couldn't have it hooked to a computer, as we do sometimes when people make presentations and put them up on the TV screens. So, providing Katie is there with us, she'll be able to run that.
City Manager Jarrell, I don't want to spend a time where it's not necessary, but I think that would be very useful in even the department knowing that we're looking at it that way, and we have the information. It would be simply projecting, and I'm thinking more of the expense pie chart divided into the simple categories.
We will definitely check into that, and we start this in, I guess, just under two weeks. So hopefully Ms. Connolly is back and well 2 weeks from now, and she would be able to run it. So we'll check and make sure it all works.
Okay. Thank you. I think that would be very collaborative and helpful. As I said, people respond to visuals and.
I think it just, yes. I mean, we can plan on having that there. The work session date comes up faster than the individual department presentations. So we may have more bandwidth by the time we get 2 weeks out from the department presentations. But if we're going to try to have all that pulled together for Thursday, a week from Thursday, then that may be a little more limited.
I like how we're starting off. I don't know how we did last year, but I like how we're starting off with fire and MIT, because they're usually, and DPW as well, set the standard. They have good presentations. Is there anything else, Director Dick? Oh, I know, I had a question. We got a notice from purchasing today that there's a bid posting for professional financial audit services.
That's our audit services. We put together an RFP, talked about it at the last audit committee. It's finalized, and Brian and I got that out the door and posted. So we're going to be having, in the next week, we're going to be having a meeting with anybody, what do they call them, pre-bid conference with any vendors that are interested in proposing or have questions. And then we'll be taking bids for about, the deadline for submission is, I think we settle on sometime in the first week of May. And then we'll try to get the award made by the end of May.
Okay, sure. I'm sure Alderman Arnett is happy about that. That's a little milestone there. So, all right. Is there?
Oh, and I will tell you that Brian Snyder is retiring very soon. We got him for maybe a few more weeks, and then he will be gone. So his official day is, of course, June 30, but he's got some leave that he needs to use. So.
Wow. In his departure, is there anyone filling in?
Not yet. I don't know how we're going to work that process. We'll have to see how many things are on his plate at the time. And we still got the position listed. We relisted it with a professional organization, so hopefully we'll have some more applicants soon.
Mm-hmm. Alderwoman Finlayson?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Ms. Dickinson, I couldn't hear the last part. What's the status of our recruitment of a new procurement officer?
So it's still ongoing. The position has been listed since sometime in the fall. We've had 2 rounds of interviews. In each of those rounds, we found a good candidate, and each one of them eventually declined the offer. So now we're out there again. It's still listed on our site. We've just relisted it on a Maryland procurement group site, so that may pique some more interest with the job. So we'll see if we get any interested candidates. It's just a tough market for procurement professionals.
May I ask, did they indicate why they turned down our offer?
Not
is it something we can use to enhance our offer that will make us more successful in finding someone?
Nobody gave me specific reasons. Both were just that they didn't think it was the best move for them at this time. Nothing more specific than that. I think our salary is comparable and at a good level. I think it's a very specialized area, and especially the governmental experience is very specialized. And right now it's just very competitive.
So does our salary need to be more than commensurate?
I couldn't answer that. I think Tricia, HR would have to take a look at that and evaluate it to see if we need to do anything to the salary. It's already at the 18 level, and we only have 19 and 20 levels here. The department heads are 20s.
We have flexibility in the steps, so we don't have to start them all the way at the bottom of the scale, of course.
Yeah.
So we have that flexibility of starting at a higher.
Yeah, I definitely anticipate we'll have to start somebody up way high on the scale. Both of the offers were high on the scale.
Well, do we have to do anything to encourage enhancement of the salary? I don't know whether that means additional benefits or something that's going to make us unique and enticing. So can I ask Mr. Gerald to look into some things or to ask Ms. Hopkins to look into, because we're going to be in an uncomfortable position, I think, if Mr. Snyder leaves and we still have that vacancy.
Yeah, I can certainly have that discussion with her, but I think that the salary level is appropriate. It's just a really tight, there's just not a lot of people that are available. So, but
They're
you know,
not
I
ready
can
to
have that
leave, that
conversation.
kind of thing.
You know,
Yeah.
And I don't think we want to start, well,
We can't give, we
one-offs.
can't, yeah, we can't do offers for people that aren't in alignment with what we're offering in our normal policies. And any kind of upgrade to the position would have to go through the civil service review as well. So that's a process that takes some time. In the meantime, we've got 2 staff people over there. I know that the buyer too, the senior buyer, is experienced with pulling together some of the basic RFP packages, and then it'll probably involve me and the department heads that are doing the bidding, a little more work on the end point, the end review, and you know, working with potential vendors, that kind of thing.
Well, let me ask, it sounds like the expectation is if the position remains vacant, then we will farm out the responsibilities to other existing employees. Is that what I just understood?
Well, there's going to be, somebody's going to have to pick up the ball. So
We have no
it'll
choice.
be,
That's what we'll have to do. We have to find somebody that can fill that temporarily. It's not quite as straightforward as, you know, as other departments where you have more depth because they have 3 people there. But we definitely will have to find somebody or hire, you know, a contractor that maybe is out there, but we've got to find somebody to do that job. We can't just not do it.
We have known for some time, many years actually, that Mr. Snyder has worn many hats successfully in the city. And so maybe we need to rethink that position. And maybe it takes 2 people instead of 1. Maybe that will make it more enticing. It is very uncomfortable for me to think that it's okay that we just divvy up the work that he was doing and put it on already full plates, because that's usually what happens. And I want us to avoid that if at all possible. And so I would think that we make every effort, and if it means changing our policy, then we have to change it. But we need to make every effort to not just make do with, you know, the situation. It is not appropriate to give others who are already busy additional responsibilities, because oftentimes it never comes back together. So I just want us to be conscious of that and think about some other options for this
and
position.
just to be clear, because it sounds like we're being chastised here, and I don't think that is appropriate, but I can tell you that we recognize that. We started this process at least 6 months ago in anticipation of having an overlap between the 2, where Brian would be able to stay on longer even after we got the new person in to do a turnover, and it hasn't panned out. We've had 2 candidates. I met with both of them. Jody met with both of them several times. We made very attractive offers, and they decided this was not to their best interest. So when Brian leaves, we have got to do something to fill that position. I mean, that's the reality, is that we have to have somebody fill in to help with that. You'll recall that I think a year or 2 ago, we upgraded the number 2 person in that group in anticipation. So hopefully that person will be able to help, but they still have their full range of duties to do as well. So it's going to be a significant challenge. I agree with that, but it's not that we didn't anticipate it. It's not that we aren't planning for it and figuring out the best way to handle it if that comes about.
Mr. Jarrell, I am not trying to chastise anyone, and that is not my intent. And I think you know that. My intent is to give the employees all the support and attention they need. And, you know, hearing that we are just going to divide the responsibilities to already full plates is not the approach I would like for us to take. I want us to think out of the box. You know, if 2 candidates turned us down, then, you know, it would have been nice if we had had an opportunity to say, you know, what is it that we could have done to keep you here? you know, if not to give whatever they wanted, but to learn a lesson about what we do differently the next time. So this is not about chastising. This is about helping us move forward in a healthy way and filling the position that we need to do the work that we need. So that is my intent, and I want to be clear about that, please.
Yeah, so Ms. Dickinson clearly asked them if there was something that she could do to entice them to come to us, right? And they didn't offer information other than
They gave me no specifics. It just wasn't right for their career at this time. That's all. You can't pry. And I will tell you that thought process that you just went through, I've been through all that the last few weeks. What do we do? How do we think outside the box? What else can we do? Is there something we can do internally to make this work? And so far, none of those ideas have panned out. And I will work on a couple more of those, but in the meantime, we have to do something in the interim until we find a replacement. And we don't have a choice then to put it on already full plates. That's what we do all the time, put things on already full plates because we always have a lot to do.
Excuse me, in 2019, I don't know if my colleagues remember, we introduced an ordinance, basically, I'm not sure if it was a revision, but it basically introduced and defined the role of a procurement officer in much detail, you know, and one part of it was that the procurement officer has the authority to delegate that responsibility. When you talk about this assistant that we approved last year, does that person have the authority to act in the role of a procurement officer and attend to the duties that are in this ordinance? There's a menu under 6.08.050, authority and duties of the procurement officer. There's an A through M list of responsibilities. I guess I have a two-part question. Is that, I hope that doesn't intimidate anyone. And number two, do we have someone to act in that capacity? As far as, what you said, as far as dividing the role. I mean, it's, procurement, supervising everything, conduct the pre-bid, make the recommendations, maintain the files, change specs as necessary, require all the insurance and compliance and all that.
So I will say that the senior buyer can do a good part of that list, because a good part of that list is in the preparation process and has been trained on the front side of the procurement process. It's the back side with the awards to vendors, reviewing offers, and the agreement side, where you're trying to make sure everything that needs to be in the agreement is in the agreement to protect the city, which we already have a good resource there with the law office. So that's handled, but to say, is somebody going to be able to act that role solely? Probably not. But I don't know what we'll do about an acting procurement officer.
Right.
Maybe me.
I'm getting a little bit off finance committee topic here, so forgive me, but also today we got an employee request for what looks like a project manager for major stormwater project. And so somebody's going to have to review and receive those bids, et cetera, et cetera. So it sounds like we know what's coming and we're doing the best we can to respond to this potential vacancy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to the traffic engineer issue that we went through. We could have doubled that salary and still not got any interest, unfortunately. So we've hired a traffic engineering firm to provide those services, and it certainly isn't the same as it would be if we had an on-staff traffic engineer, because you get a different level of response and and work out that situation, but it's the next best thing. So we're looking at options. We know that it's a major issue. Trust me. It's like the old REM song, right? The world as we know is about to end, or something along those lines. I told Brian that, we're going to desperately miss him, but we need to find a way to fill that gap, clearly. So we're working on different options for that.
Okay. Are there any other questions or concerns? Well, we've come to the conclusion of the agenda. Is there anything for the good of the order? Otherwise, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. And listen
Move
to
to
the
adjourn.
barbershop, and listen to the barbershop quartet. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Taki, as
Thank you.
always. Bye-bye. Enjoy,
Thank you.
Sheila.